A user profile is a description or characterization of the intended audience of a particular lexicographic project. Users' profiles characterize who they are, what they know, and what they need from the reference works. So, when lexicographers design a reference work, they create a user profile to guide their decisions. These are some of them. 1. What words to include? We include buzzwords for learners, technical terms for specialists, slang words for young speakers, etc. 2. How are we to explain meanings? As simple definitions for beginners, as detailed explanations for experts, etc. 3. What examples or usage notes should we add? 4. Which languages or varieties are we going to cover? For example, in a Pan-Hispanic dictionary, we must include all the varieties of Spanish that represent all Spanish-speaking regions, rather than focusing on just one national or regional variety. So, a Pan-Hispanic dictionary will not refer only to, for example, Mexican Spanish, Argentine Spanish, or Peninsular Spanish from Spain. So, to do a user profile, we have to ask some questions for creating them. Here is a list of specific questions and answers for creating it. Question number 1. Who are the users of lexicographic data, for example, of a particular dictionary? They can be humans, they can be machines, or they can be both. Second question. How old are, for example, human users? They can be adult, or they can be young, or they can be children, etc. Question number 3. What kind of activity prompts the use of lexicographic data? For example, we need them for reading, or for writing, or for translating, or for acquiring knowledge, traveling, solving crossword, etc. Question number 4. For which specific tasks do lexicographers expect users to use lexicographic data? Users, for example, may use the lexicographic data for the following tasks: understanding unfamiliar words, checking spelling or pronunciation, doing crosswords, studying a particular subject field, learning a language, translating text from one language to another, writing essays, writing reports, preparing a lecture, etc., or preparing for an exam, and so on. Question number 5. What kind of lexicographic data do users look up? They can look up meaning, grammar, orthography, visual aids, abbreviations and acronyms, idiomatic expressions, collocations, and so on. Question number 6. What consultation strategies do users employ? Users can look up signs in different formats, for example, linguistic or non-linguistic. They can consult reference works either alphabetically or semasiologically, etc. Question number 7. Which language is the user's mother tongue? For example, it might be English, or Spanish, or Chinese, Japanese, etc. Question number 8. What is the user's level of proficiency in the mother tongue? This question basically depends on factors such as education, language exposure, reading habits, and type of words. Question number 9. What types of lexicographic data do users prefer to use? They can prefer monolingual, bilingual, multilingual, general or specialized lexicographic data, for example. Or they can prefer linguistic data, visual data, data specially prepared for impaired people, etc. Question number 10. With which method is the user learning the mother tongue? For example, users can be very much exposed or less to the spoken language in their daily environment. Or users receive a lot of attention or less attention from people around them. Or users' cognitive development is or is not normal, and so on. Question number 11. What is the user's level of proficiency in a second, third, fourth language? They may be, for example, beginners, or false beginners, or be advanced. Or they may be familiarized or not with learning foreign languages, and so on. Question number 12. What is the user's general cultural and encyclopedic level? As always, this depends on users' educational background, reading habits, profession, media consumption, interests and hobbies, and also cultural exposure. Question number 13. What is the user's experience in translation between a specific set of languages? Users are professional or novice translators. The working languages belong or do not to the same or related language family. One or more of the working languages have or do not have translation records, and so on. Question number 14. What is the user's experience of lexicographic consultations? Users may have or may have not been trained in dictionary consultation. They are or are not familiarized with dictionary meta-language, with dictionary structures, and so on. Question number 15. Is the user blind, deaf, or do they suffer from any other handicap which may limit the use of specific types of lexicographic tools? For example, users may need sign language, or videos, or audio clips, and so on. Question number 16. What expectations does the language community have of dictionaries and similar reference works? The language community regards dictionaries as symbols of national identity and are part of them, or they may not be in this way. Question number 17. What material conditions does the language community have? It may or may not have electricity. It may or may not have electric lighting. It may or may not possess a device with access to the internet, etc. Question number 18. Which business model will the dictionary at year 2? The dictionary will be financed by subscription or advertisements, or both. The dictionary will be considered a service instead of a product, and hence the different lexicographic data can be sold on different forms, for example individually or in different groups, for example definitions and synonyms for an e-reader, and definitions and examples for a translation company, and so on. In sum, the questions I have just made revolve on issues that seek information such as these. 1. Linguistic background. native or non-native speakers. Second, age and education level. 3. Language proficiency of the potential users. 4. Purpose of use, for learning, for translation, for professional work, for general reference, etc. 5. Cultural or regional context. In sum, by defining the user profile, lexicographers can make appropriate choices about the content, style, samples, and level of detail in the reference words they are creating. In a new lesson, I will illustrate this with reference to the Diccionario Digital del Español, DIDES. Thank you.